Good morning, everyone. This morning we're finishing up chapter 27 of Merging with Śiva, Sub of the Subconscious Mind. It's a pretty technical chapter, so nice to be through it. Get into something a little lighter. The sub of the subconscious mind can and does create situations of an uncomely nature. It is well known that repressions are formed by a series of suppressed desires. When these repressions are released, the emotional unit undergoes a change. It is also well known that all the thoughts placed into the subconscious remain there until they materialize into something definite. Then they will reappear. It is a little different with the subconscious mind, for it not only attracts situations that will bring these thoughts out, but creates situations by playing upon the subconscious itself. The subconscious mind, through its natural magnetism, attracts so-called temptations and unhappy conditions. The conscious mind, weakened by harmful practices, falls into this self-created trap. There the ego seemingly suffers between the subconscious thoughts that created the sub, the ego's conscious expressions, and his sub-superconscious knowing. Guilt is one of the results of this state. Also pride and anguish. These are a few of the qualities resulting from the subconscious state of mind. When the sub is controlled through a deep understanding of its inner workings, the ego or consciousness is free from being bound in identifying itself with the mind, body, and emotions. The ego or consciousness can then progress toward the dynamic realization of your real self, beyond the mind that is under your control. Otherwise, the ego is caught in the cross-section between the conscious mind and its sub-superconscious knowing, resulting in superstition, ideology, fanaticism, and an argumentative nature. The subconscious mind is very simple. We can compare it to kumkum, the red powder worn as a dot on the third eye, which is a combination of yellow turmeric and pale green lime juice. We can also liken it to ice, formed when water meets with freezing temperature. Cooking is perhaps the best common example. We place vegetables in a pot on a stove or fire, and we add the delicious curries. With the heat coming up from beneath the pot, the ingredients merge together as one. The vegetables no longer taste like they formerly did, and neither do the spices. It is not possible to separate the vegetables from the spices once the cooking has begun. A traumatic emotional experience occurs and is recorded in the subconscious. This we liken to placing the vegetables into the pot. 8 months later, a similar experience happens and is reacted to with equal emotion. It happens, it is reacted to, it goes into the same pot. The vegetables have joined the spices. A subconscious remembrance of the previous experience comes up, and it's accompanied by a heat of emotion. This is the heat that welds the two suppressions together, just as the fire cooks the curried vegetables. Try that one again. This is the heat that welds the two impressions together, just as fire cooks the curried vegetables. The two experiences have now become one. inseparably blended together in the subconscious, making a third impression, or vasana, totally different from the two impressions that manufactured it. It is unique and complete within itself, driven forward by an emotional force even greater than its two component experiences. It is this subliminal power that makes the subconscious mind an overwhelming hindrance or a tremendous helpmate when used properly. When existing in negative ignorance, it is a deterrent on the path to enlightenment. The solution to eliminating the power of emotion that compels the blended karmas forward is simple. We only have to understand the ingredients, the vegetables and the spices, and resolve each one separately. Once cognized, even the most complex patterns can be resolved or unraveled through writing down one's inmost feelings and burning the paper in an ordinary fire. This is called Vasanada Tantra. Remember, however, that it is not necessary to remove each and every negative impression one by one. Rather, we seek to strengthen the positive impressions. This in itself is sufficient and will allow unseemly impressions to be naturally resolved. That was the technical part. But the basic idea is simple. It applies to experiences that have lots of emotion in them. It does not apply to an experience which is pretty much emotion-free. So experiences that have lots of emotion, when that emotion is of a similar nature, join and create a third item in the subconscious mind. That item can be either positive or negative. It doesn't have to be negative. So it can cause us to be more successful or cause us to be more religious, as well as cause some unusual problem. And the next and last lesson in this chapter, helpmate or hindrance. So that's the same idea. Subconscious can either be positive and help us or be negative and be a hindrance. As we study the mystical teachings of our religion, we begin to reprogram the subconscious mind and mold it like we mold clay. We become more conscious of our fears. We tell ourselves there is nothing to be afraid of. There is not one thing to be afraid of. We are able to talk to the subconscious mind in this way. It is called affirmation. I am a fearless being. I am a fearless being. We keep saying to ourselves time and time and time again. In affirming this truth, we begin re-educating or reprogramming the subconscious mind. Finally, we begin to remove the layers upon layers covering the soul. In India, there is a traditional analogy of a lamp whose light is concealed by a screen of colored pieces of cloth. It is said that we can uncover the lamp representing the light of the soul by reprogramming the subconscious. First, we take off the black piece of cloth. The dark green one is still there, so little light comes through as yet, and we are faced with the instinctive emotion, our great protective power of being jealous. Both fear and jealousy are protective mechanisms of the mind. We work with our jealous nature as we make other affirmations. I have all that everyone else has. The same power that is within everyone is within me. In this way, we begin reprogramming the subconscious and gain more and more confidence in ourselves. Jealousy is inferiority. We feel we lack that which someone else has, so we try to cut them down a little bit to our size. Jealousy makes people mean. Finally, we work our awareness through this dark green sheath of jealousy, and we remove that sheath from the lamp of the soul. A little more light now shines through, and we begin to feel good about ourselves. I'm not so bad after all. In fact, I'm pretty good. We become more confident and penetrate even deeper while working on the next instinctive quality, and the next, and the next, and the next. Finally, as we take off the last sheath, we find that we are that which we were all the time. We are inwardly free. We have removed awareness from the conscious mind and brought it through the subconscious state into pure superconsciousness. Now the physical body seems to us but a shell, a place in which we live in order to express ourselves on the surface of the earth. Spiritual body seems to us to be our real body, and we wonder why we didn't realize that before. And then we have my commentary. There is a human tendency to want to be better than others. One way to accomplish this, at least in our own mind, is to focus on the faults that others have and be critical of them. You don't have these faults, therefore you are better. You are unchanged, but you have lowered them and therefore are now better than they are. So you brought them down and you're still there, so now you're better. The other approach is to actually improve yourself to a standard higher than you previously were at, and to also encourage others to improve themselves by encouragement rather than criticism. So that's my reflection on that human tendency. And then to summarize the chapter, Gurudeva said it so nicely, I'll repeat it there. The goal is to remove awareness from the conscious mind, meaning being aware of the world, bring it through the subconscious, our memories, into pure superconsciousness, our inner light. However, we can only do that if the subconscious mind has been reprogrammed through removing negative vasanas through Vasanadaha Tantra and other methods, overcoming the instinctive tendencies to become fearful, jealous, and angry, and have developed a positive self-concept through the use of affirmations. All of that is necessary in order to not get stuck in the subconscious mind, unable to move through it to superconsciousness. So as I mention regularly, and that's a very important part of Gurudeva's teachings, is remolding the subconscious. We're not trying to analyze it, trying to change it into something more transparent, more positive. So that Gurudeva gives us the tools to do that, and one of the major ones is Vasanadaha Tantra, writing down experiences from the past and taking the emotion out of it. The memory doesn't go away, but the emotional content is neutralized, so it doesn't upset us to think about it. So those types of practices are needed, otherwise you go within a meditation and you get stuck in your thoughts about the past, concerns about the present that you haven't resolved, and therefore that's not a very pleasant meditation. That needs to be transparent enough to get through it. Well, thank you very much. Have a wonderful day.